Hi there. So we're going to do an EFT tapping meditation on the whole subject around not feeling enough. Now, the thing with clearing limiting beliefs is with EFT tapping is you actually tap on the negative because actually you're speaking the truth of the emotion that many people feel, which is I am not worthy and I am not enough. So it might seem a bit strange to begin with, where I'm going to be saying quite a lot of negative things, but this is because what we're trying to do is actually alter the belief and the thought pattern by calming down the nervous system. And the way EFT tapping works is actually it switches a physical switch, so calms down the fight or flight response. So if you find yourself triggered, if you find yourself feeling emotional on any of the times as you're tapping with me, that's okay, because that's energy moving, that's emotions moving. If you find that it actually seems to be rising quite a lot of stress inside of you, okay, just keep tapping and keep breathing. We're going to go from the negative to the positive. Okay, and I recommend that you repeat this process. You may in the beginning think it's a bit weird if you haven't done tapping before. Okay, but again, it's a process that has been scientifically proven to actually help calm down the fight or flight response and those feelings when we don't feel worthy and when we don't feel like we're enough. And to do with manifesting and the law of attraction, you're actually cleaning up your vibrational set point. So this is why, clearing out your limiting beliefs is so important, particularly chronic ones that can have been with you for a long time. And the I am not enough is one that can be around a lot of us. But this is your vibrational set point, and when we start to clean it up and improve it, that's when you will start to improve your manifesting power, which is why we're going through this process now. Okay, so what I want you to do is just take a deep breath, and to begin with, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 with how when you say to yourself, I am not enough, on a scale of 1 to 10, how intense you feel that. All right, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you feel I am not enough? Okay, so just take a note of that. And then we take a breath, and then we start with our karate chop here, just lightly tap in on the side of the hand, doesn't matter which hand, just with a couple of fingers. And just repeat the statements after me, either in your head, or you can say them out loud if you feel comfortable to do so. Okay, so even though I don't feel like I'm enough, I choose to honor those feelings and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have never felt like I am enough, I choose to honor those feelings and completely love and accept myself. Even though I don't always feel like I'm enough, I choose to honor those feelings. I choose to love and accept myself. Okay, top of the eyebrows, just here, just on the inside of the bone. I don't feel like I'm enough. Outside edge. I've never felt like I'm enough. Under the eye, still on the eye socket, just very lightly. Not good enough. Never been good enough. I just don't feel good enough. Don't feel worthy enough. Under the arm. I just never felt good enough. Now, as we're going through this not feeling good enough, I want you to think, when was the first time when you felt not good enough? Have a think about when was the first time when you didn't feel good enough? Was it in your childhood, at school? Maybe at a club you were part of, in a family event? Did you compare yourself unfavorably to maybe your siblings or friends? Now, as you're imagining that, I want you to just think about what happened and when you decided that you weren't good enough. And I just want you to repeat, I never felt good enough. I wasn't as good as them. I was made to feel not good enough. Not as good as them. Now just stay here on the collarbone, and it's actually just about an inch out from you, from the bones here. Okay, your clavicle bones. Just on the sort of spot that they call the sore spot. Just tap here. Taking a breath. Not feeling good enough. Not as good as them. I've never felt good enough. So many times in my life, it proved to me when I wasn't good enough. Now I just want you to think about those times, and there may be tears, and that's okay. Have a think. When you didn't feel good enough, or as good as other people, just sit with that emotion and just tap. You're doing yourself the world of good. Not feeling good enough. Not as good as other people. Never felt good enough. Never felt as good as other people. So many times I proved to myself that wasn't good enough. Other people thought it too. I know they did. So that must be the truth. That I wasn't good enough. Never good enough. And that makes me feel really sad. That makes me feel really sad. Now just keep tapping here. And just take a breath. And if you still feel some intensity around those feelings, then just keep tapping and keep going through the tapping points on those negative aspects of not feeling good enough. You could just keep repeating, I don't feel good enough. You could just keep repeating that and going through the tapping points. Tapping will help to calm down the nervous response, the flight or fight. It is a physical switch. So trust the process, even if you're not saying anything and you're just sitting with the emotions. Just keep tapping and breathing. And you'll notice that you start to feel calmer. And you might find that you actually start yawning as your nervous system starts to calm down. Now, just as you're tapping, I want you to reassess on that scale of 1 to 10. When you say the words, I'm not good enough, how are you feeling now? Is it still up to the 10 or is it reduced down? Now you can keep going through these tapping points as much as you want and tap on the negative. I'm not good enough. I don't feel good enough. So many times when I haven't felt good enough. Okay, but when you start to feel calmer and you're starting to feel like, actually, that's not true for me anymore, what that shows is you've actually start flicking the switch. You've calmed down that fight or flight response. So what you can then do is actually start to turn into a positive. So even though I've had this time in my life where I haven't felt good enough, I'm starting to think that that's not true. And actually, I'm open to the idea that I actually am good enough. So I'm open to the possibility that I am good enough. I'm open to the possibility that I've always been good enough. And that other people have seen me as being good enough too. In fact, there are many, many occasions in my life where I could actually say I have been more than good enough. In fact, I've been awesome. So actually, the truth is, I am good enough. I've always been good enough. And I will always be good enough. Because there are so many times in my life where I have been amazing. So the truth is, I don't have to prove my worth. Because I was born good enough. I am good enough. I am good enough. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. I will always be enough. I am enough. Okay, so take a deep breath and exhale. See how you feel. Rate again from 0 to 10. How do you feel? Okay, so chances are the positive side of it may actually help your energy to lift. If you still feel sadness, that means it's not quite cleared. And what I would recommend is you do this tapping script every day for at least 7 days to calm down that fight or flight response around the I am not good enough. And eventually you will start to feel the lessening of those intense emotions around the whole feeling of not being good enough, not being worthy, and raising up the energy of feeling good enough and worthy. So I hope you find that useful.